has started, and then to Ms. Sapp.
Okay, the public meeting is now live streaming. Ms. Sapp, I will turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dawn Sapp, Associate Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction for the St. Johns County School District, and I'm facilitating our meeting for today. Thank you to the team who is running all of our technical parts and helping us in the background. I really appreciate all of you. So thank you for joining us today.
Ms. Sapp,
Yes.
It looks like Ms. Moore somehow got kicked out. So I'm going to let her back in real quick, but I just wanted to let you know that she was not in here. So.
Okay. Great. I think I can go ahead and do this opening part.
Yep, she's back in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for joining us today for the District Library Book Objection Committee meeting. The purpose of today's meeting is to review an objection to the book titled Crank by Ellen Hopkins. Our committee members today include Kate Houston, District Personnel, Ted Banton, Principal, Lisa Greco, Media Specialist. The teacher that was expected to join us, unfortunately, is out sick today, so she won't be in the meeting as part of our committee. Parent Jennifer Edwards, parent Kelly Shuford, and community members Cindy Lee and Vicki Pepper. So thank you all for being a part of our committee for today. Today's meeting will result in a recommendation that will be forwarded to Mr. Forson, the St. Johns County School District Superintendent of Schools. The committee meeting is public record and therefore subject to sunshine law. It is being live streamed for public viewing. Committee members are not required to have their camera on during the meeting. We are committed to civility and decorum. Please assist us in maintaining a constructive meeting environment by remaining respectful of each participant during the meeting and afterwards. Additional discussion of the objecting party or committee members outside of the meeting is discouraged. Disparaging comments are contrary to district expectations regarding character and civility. Committee members received several resources in advance of the meeting. Those resources included the objecting party's request for reconsideration, a copy of the book, Florida statutes, Florida Department of Education training slides, St. Johns County School Board rules, the Library Bill of Rights, and School Library Media Materials Evaluation Checklist. The process for today is as follows. First, the objecting party will have the opportunity to address the committee. They will provide any information they deem compelling or new regarding their request. Next, the committee will have a discussion utilizing the School Library Media Material Evaluation Checklist. Finally, the committee will determine a recommendation for Superintendent Forson. There are two options. The first option is to retain the book for a designated level. And the second option is to remove the book from all St. Johns County School District libraries. For our meeting today, both agreeable and opposing viewpoints are welcome, and we look forward to attaining consensus. Are there any questions regarding our process? Okay, let us begin. There is one objecting party for Crank. That's Jean Moore. Ms. Moore will have up to 5 minutes to share her concerns with any new or additional information that was not included in her written complaint. Ms. Moore, the committee members are here to listen and will not respond to you with comments. When you have completed your comments, you will be removed from the meeting and you may continue to view the meeting via the public link. You may begin.
Good afternoon, and thanks for the opportunity to verbally share my concerns. My objections to Crank by Ellen Hopkins are that the book contains explicit sexual activities, sexual battery, profanity, and drug use. According to ratedbooks.org, it's rated a 3 out of 5, which is minor restricted. Under 18 requires guidance of a parent or guardian, the same as a rated R movie. According to House Bill 1069, school library books cannot contain sexual conduct as defined in Statute 847.001, subsection 19, which points back to subsection 16. 19 says, simulated means the explicit depiction of conduct described in subsection 16, which creates the appearance of such conduct and which exhibits an uncovered portion of the breast, genitals, or buttocks. Subsection 16 says sexual conduct means actual or simulated sexual intercourse, deviant sexual intercourse, sexual bestiality, masturbation, or sadomasochistic abuse, actual lewd exhibition of genitals, actual physical contact with a person's clothed or unclothed genitals, pubic area, buttocks, or if such a person is a female, breasts with the intention to arouse or gratify the sexual desire of either party, or any act of conduct which constitutes sexual battery or simulates that sexual battery is being or will be committed. The law does not stipulate how much of this content needs to be present for it to be considered a violation. It says it cannot be there at all. I would also argue that this sort of content is not suited to student needs and is inappropriate in a public school setting. Along with the explicit sexual content and sexual battery, you also have the graphic depictions of drug use. As I mentioned in my original complaint back in April of 2022, the author describes in detail euphoric feelings that the character has while doing these drugs and use them not only to escape, but also get through the rigors of life. You'll be asked if this book has literary value. I would say subjectively, just about anything can be considered to have some sort of literary value, but I would ask you objectively, does the content contain attributes described in the Florida statute 847.001, subsection 16 and 19? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then it does not matter if someone feels like it has literary value. It is not appropriate for a school library according to House Bill 1069. On a personal note, I want to say that as a culture, we have really lost our way. The fact that there are authors and publishers out there appropriating graphic and explicit sex, violence, and other adult themes to young readers is sickening and inexcusable. These are the same people accepted by school districts as the trusted and reliable resources to determine age appropriateness. They give themselves awards freely and they applaud themselves for it. It is unbelievable to me that as a parent today, you must microscopically search out and dispute inappropriate content in a school library. Not only search it out and dispute it, but then fight the school district to prove that graphic sex, violence, rape, profanity, drug use, alcohol use, on and on, has no place in schools. To have to put this much energy into saying, let kids be kids, and then have a school district say that it's okay for kids to read about blowjobs and getting high. It's mind-boggling. There is no moral compass. The current opt-out process provided by the district is ineffective and does not protect students from explicit and graphic content. Additionally, adding notes or warnings in the Follett system does almost nothing to protect children from content. Are students browsing the Follett system when looking for a book to read, or are they going through the shelves? I also have serious doubts about the way something has been deemed restricted material is actually restricted and enforced. Although I would agree that kids can find worse things on the internet from their friends or peers, or even watched on their own TVs at home, that is not the point. If children can find one safe place from the filth, immorality, and perverted degradation of this world, it should be at school. Is the literary value of these books so great that it's worth the innocence of children? Yes, high school kids are still children. You are the books you read, the movies you watch, the music you listen to, the people you spend time with, the conversations you engage in. Choose wisely what you feed your mind. Books with explicit graphic sex, violence, drugs, etc. should be left to the bookstores and public libraries, not purchased and handed out by the school district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. You'll now exit the meeting and you may continue to view the meeting via the public link. Committee members, we will now begin our discussion utilizing the school library media material evaluation checklist. I'll read each question or statement from the review checklist, and each committee member will have the opportunity to share a response. Comments will be summarized to provide our overall committee response for each question. And just a reminder, these comments go to Mr. Forson as part of our recommendation. Please remember to raise your hand when you are ready to respond. Keep in mind that our final task on the form is to make a recommendation to Superintendent Forson with one of two options: retain the book for a designated level or remove the book from all St. Johns County School District libraries. For our meeting today, both agreeable and opposing viewpoints are welcome, and we look forward to the discussion. Let's begin. So the first section on our media materials evaluation was just an opportunity to acknowledge why the objecting party or what they are citing as their challenge to the material. Just as a quick reference, Mrs. Moore filed this objection prior to the new statutory language coming out. And so in her comments, she referenced, I think, which one of these we would connect to her objection. But, you know, this isn't the actual form that you received as far as the objection from Ms. Moore. So does anyone, I was going to, just from her comments, go ahead and say that we would check off the material is inappropriate for the grade level and age group, and that the material depicts or describes sexual conduct. Are there any other comments for question number 1? You can raise your hand if you'd like to speak. Okay,
We have Kelly.
okay, I was gonna say, Ms. Lawson, I don't think I can see that. So if you see someone with their hand up, if you'll go ahead and acknowledge.
I will. Kelly, did you want to say something?
Hi, I just wanted to clarify, so she's saying the material depicts or describes sexual conduct defined in Florida statute 847.001, like, is that the one we're checking?
Yes. I mean, that's
Or
what I
the-
heard her say. She
Okay.
referenced that, and she also referenced that she thought it was inappropriate for,
Okay.
I tried to take notes during her comments.
Thank you.
Actually, in my comments, I said that she noted that it's not suited to student needs. So. And you can check as, you know, all that apply, so, just wanted to make sure.
I had a hard time following which statute she was referring to. That's,
And in my notes, now, of course, these are my notes, I referenced 847.001. As far as the comments that she made. Okay, is there any other discussion on question number 1? Okay, question number 2. Oh,
Wait,
okay, go ahead, Vicki.
I have a question because I did not find that statute that she mentioned in our packet. And there were some things that were excluded. So does anybody know what those other numbers cited, what those were?
I printed the statutory language so I can have it at my fingertips. So 847001 is the statute that defines in 19.
Yeah, I had looked that
Got that one?
But the second part says this does not apply to material required by Florida statutes 1003.46.422 note 1G or 103.422 and 3. I just was wondering what those were.
I did not print those off, but I believe those are in reference to our health standards or biology standards. Those would be like part of our required instruction. So if it was a, you know, instruction in that respect, and it's part of the standards that we teach, we can look that up and find out for you. Can you check those, Carlin, for us? 1003.42. 1003.42.
So I guess my question then is, I was focused on when I was going through it, the statutes you sent us in the packet, the 847.012, and I kind of worked through that. But that seems to be not entirely consistent with this other one that she's brought up.
The 847.001.
19, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know what the relationship between those two is, because I mean, I don't know if anybody can shed any light on that.
Ms.
Okay,
Sapp,
yes, go ahead.
I have the document here for Florida statutes. Which are we talking about? 1003.46?
That is, yes, that's it says unless material is required by Florida statute 1003.46.
Okay.
That's the first one.
I don't know if you can see my screen. Right here at the top, it's 847.001 unless such material is for a course required by 1003.46 or 1003.422 and 1G or
Right.
identified by the State Board of Education rules. So that, Ms. Pepper, I don't know if that helps.
Now, as far as the reference to 847.012, was there a reference to that in the original packet?
No.
Yes.
Hi,
not
this is
in-
Kim
no,
Dixon.
She
Yes.
did mention, but
Yes,
it was
so-
it was in our worksheet.
Hi, guys. Sorry for interrupting. This is Kim. Yes, it was referenced. It was not included separately, but it is written into that statute. I can send all the committee members and I will also forward it to Ms. Moore, who already has, so I'll make sure that she's copied on that email for full disclosure. But all of those are copied in the document that I sent to you this morning, Ms. Sapp, and they are hyperlinked. So
Okay.
if you click on the specific one, and I will send that to all of the committee members at this time.
So Kim knows these statutes really well, so that's why just as kind of in general, that first statute, 847.012, is the statute that prohibits pornographic materials.
Correct.
Then there is a statute 847.001 that basically describes the meaning of sexual conduct so that we all have an understanding of what cannot be in school materials. So that's the definition. The legal definition of sexual conduct is in 847.001.
Correct. It defines sexual conduct.
So-
847.001.19.
So when it says there are descriptions of it, but they are not that explicit or detailed, it seems to me that so we look to the other statute to find out what the definition is, but then we still go back to 847.012 and work through that to decide which side of the line it's on.
Right. I mean, if it's
Okay.
pornographic, it's illegal.
Right.
But there could be sexual conduct that does not rise to the level of being pornographic.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to question number 2. And so specific pages in the material cited by the objecting party were reviewed. This is just as a committee member recognizing that, yes, you did look at the objection and you did review the pages that were cited in the objection. So this is where we'll need to get use the reaction key. And if you can just indicate yes if you reviewed those pages and no if you did not.
Ms. Pepper, can you vote?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at my papers.
It's okay.
Where's my,
It's going to be down at the bottom where it says reactions on your computer.
I lost my box. I think what happened was I made my screen smaller. Okay, yes, I did review those.
Okay.
Do we have everyone logged in?
Yeah, hang on one second. I'm going to record the votes.
I'm not sure, Dr. Lawson, I don't see a vote for Ms. Pepper on my screen.
She has 2 screens because she's on one on her phone. You won't see the green check on that, but she has her other one on her computer. So you'll see her twice on here, and she's going to vote on her computer, and she is listening and speaking on her phone. So the one where her video is the one on her computer, and that is where she's voting.
because my audio's not working on my computer for some reason.
So she had to
I-
call it.
Yes, I understand. It'd be excellent if she could record her vote on the one that's showing on the screen.
Oh,
Okay, well, then
it is.
the vote.
I think I see it.
Okay, I may be looking at a
Corner
different
there.
version, not a.
I don't
I
see
have
everybody.
a pink shirt on and a beach behind
Yeah,
me.
she has her video on
Here
and
you
there's
are. I see you now, I see you, Ms. Pepper. Thank you. I needed to look up.
Okay.
Okay, so
the
if
question. Oh,
I have
sorry.
recorded the votes. If you can please go ahead and click your vote again, so it will disappear. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
so as far as reviewing the material cited by the objecting party on those pages, if you would like to make any comments regarding those pages that were reviewed, please raise your hand. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. Question number 3. This is also, we'll need everyone to check yes or no. Professional and or crowdsourced reviews were considered. So this is where you are marking that you did review those professional sources or crowdsourced reviews. Yes or no. You'll use your reaction.
I have recorded the responses. You may go ahead and click your green or red circle.
Okay, are there any comments with regards to the reviews? Raise your hand if you would like to make a comment.
We have 2 raised hands, Ms. Stepp. We'll start with Cindy. Go ahead, Cindy.
Most of the reviews I saw and the awards that the author got were actually, I mean, this book is from 2004 is when it was published. So the book won many awards during 2005 to 2012. And it seemed like there was a mix of what people thought about it. But overwhelmingly, I found that most people found that the book was reviewed well and I guess appropriate for, you know, the high school level reader.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other hands up?
Yes, ma'am. We have quite a few. We'll go ahead and take Vicky next.
Okay. Yeah, I had noticed that a lot of the book came out many years ago. A lot of the reviews were older. So I didn't read any reviews, but I just went on to Goodreads just to see like what the current thing was. And I noted that Goodreads had it at 4.16 stars.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pepper.
Okay, we'll go with Jennifer next.
Sorry, my screen was jumping on me. I did read quite a few of the reviews, and a lot of them really talked about how this drug and this series was romanticized, how there were very few consequences in a lot of the actions that she took, including after being raped by her drug dealer and the pregnancy that followed, many different relationships that were hurt, where she was personally hurt, all because of this romanticized drug addiction she had, that it was kind of not presented in a way that showed the true consequences and the true horrors that can come from this addiction. It seemed not very realistic. Again, I read the word romanticized many times, as in the addiction process was being romanticized.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have Kelly. Go ahead, Kelly.
Hi, I am basing it completely on the reviews that were provided in the packet. And like Voya says, teens will relate to Christina's desire to experiment as well as her difficulty balancing conflicting feelings. Broad general YA appeal, junior high and senior high, which goes from 7 to 12. Like the Killat one says, Hopkins uses various experiments with word placement on the page to extend the emotional power of the poetry. The last poem is called Happy Endings, and the narrator says she would like to give us one, but the drugs are calling her away from her baby out the door. We know there will probably be no happy ending ever, and we aren't used to YA novels that end in such despair, but we have to face the truth that many addicts do not recover. They say it's for ages 15 to adult. So that's just two that I, grabbed out of there. So there are parts of it that are romanticized, but there's also parts that are very real.
Okay, thank you.
And we have one more person. Kate, go ahead.
Hey, yes, I, like Kelly, I also pinpointed the Voya review that says Hopkins delivers a gritty, fast-paced read while effectively portraying the dangers of substance abuse without sounding pedantic or preachy. Teens will relate. And another one I pulled out that I thought was very telling and important was from Children's Literature. Their review says that there are graphic and detailed scenes of drug use and sex, so be wary when recommending it to less mature readers, but for others, it earns a definitive place on the shelf, and they recommend it for ages 14 through 18. I read all of the reviews that were included in our packet, along with the summary of concerns from the Book Looks review rating, and I didn't really find a lot of reviews that focused on the romanticized version of the drug use. Most of them I found were pretty honest about the graphicness of her addiction.
Okay, thank you.
There are no more hands raised.
Okay, so I'm gonna read back to you all my summary of comments. The committee reviewed the professional and crowd sources and noted that this was a 2004 publication. It's won many awards. There are mixed thoughts, but the majority of the reviews feel that it is appropriate for high school level readers. Many of the reviews were older. A more recent review from Goodreads gave it a 4.16. Of the reviews provided, it was cited that teens relate to the broad appeal. There is no happy ending, and it is most appropriate for age 15 to adult. It effectively portrays the dangers of drug abuse, but be wary when recommending to less mature readers. And there were also reviews that felt that drug use was romanticized, and that it lacked showing the true consequences and horrors of drug abuse.
So
We do have another hand raised. Go ahead, Vicky.
yeah, I was just going to say Goodreads is an average. So it was not one review that gave it a 4.16. It is the current overall rating for the book. So if you could correct that.
Yes, average review. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
No more hands are raised.
Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to question number 4. So question number 4, this is where we're going to really align and follow the guidelines that are provided in statute and by our Florida's State Board of Education. So on number 4, the question is the material pornographic or prohibited per Florida statute 847.012? And let's go ahead and indicate if you think yes, it does violate that statute, in other words, it is pornographic and prohibited, you would vote yes. If you believe it is not, you will vote no.
I have captured the votes. You may click your vote again, so it will disappear.
Okay, thank you. And if you have comments that you'd like to share with regards to this with number 4, please raise your hand.
There
Okay.
are no hands raised. But Kelly, there you go. Thank you.
Okay, so no comments on this one. Okay, so we're going to move on to question number 5. Does the material depict or describe sexual conduct defined in Florida Statute 847.001, paren 19? So we're going to vote yes or no. Does it violate, does the material depict or describe sexual conduct defined in Florida Statute 847.001, paren 9? Yes or no?
This is why I was asking you about the interrelationship between the two, because I don't think it's pornographic.
Okay.
Waiting on a few more votes here, Miss Sapp. Okay, we have all the votes. If you will please click your vote. And then we had one hand raised. Miss Houston, you lowered your hand. Did you want to go ahead? Go ahead, Miss Houston.
Yeah,
Yes, if
sorry,
there are
I
any
clicked.
comments, go
I
ahead.
clicked the wrong thing. Okay, I want to qualify my vote because I had really struggled with this one. So looking at taking the language of the statute on its own, I feel that while the sex described does not, quote, predominantly appeal to a prurient, shameful, or morbid interest. So like Vicky said, I don't feel that it's pornographic and it's trying to get children excited about the sex in the book. It does fall under Part B of that rule. I do think that based on our current prevailing standards in the adult community to what adults would think is suitable material or conduct for minors, I feel that it is patently offensive to those prevailing standards of what the adult community feels is suitable for adolescents.
Okay,
We have a couple more hands raised. Are you ready for the next person, Miss Sapp?
yes.
Okay, Ted, go right ahead.
Point of clarification, when you look at Florida Statute 847.001, Section 7, when it describes A, B, and C, my understanding is to meet harmful to minors, it must meet all 3 of those indicators, both are A, B, and C, not one of the 3. Is that correct?
That is our understanding, yes.
Yeah, that was the way I read it.
Thank you for clarifying that. So
Thank you.
I feel like I would change my vote then. Am I allowed to do that?
Yes, you're allowed to do that, especially after
Miss Sapp, do you want to redo the vote?
yeah, let's finish the any other discussion. And then if we need to, we can revisit And I may flip it moving forward. We'll have the discussion and then vote, just to allow everyone a chance to hear.
There was one more hand up, but I think that last question made them lower their hand. So if you would like to call the vote.
Okay, so we'll allow another vote on this one now that we've heard comments. Everyone can vote again, please. So you are voting, does the material depict or describe sexual conduct defined in Florida Statute 847001?
If you can vote, Ms. Sapp.
Okay.
Okay, the vote has been recorded. If everyone will please click their vote icon and remove that. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to question number 6. Is the material unsuited to student needs and their ability to comprehend the material presented? And let's start with any discussion on this one. Is there anyone who would like to share comments before we vote?
We have one hand up. We have Jennifer. Go ahead, Jennifer.
There were a few quotes from it specifically, and one was regarding the rape scene. And I find it pretty graphic, and it described how she was raped, and when he was finished, he pulled out and he was covered in her blood and etc. I don't feel like that's something that minors can truly comprehend, or it's not something that they should be reading. It's not something that should be in a book in the school library to read about someone being raped and then the confusion that goes along with it, but then encode a graphic description of how he pulled out and was wet and covered in her blood. I don't feel like that's something that they could truly comprehend.
Are there any other comments?
We have another hand up. Kelly, go ahead.
Oops.
Go ahead, Vicky.
So, I actually thought, again, we're thinking about high school students. My book has a high school stamped on it, a high school library. I mean, the main character is a high school student. I mean, it's a cautionary tale about the dangers of drugs, but it's really from a teenager perspective. It's in a realistic and a non-preachy way. So I just am recalling back in the spring at one of the school board meetings, there were several young ladies from Nice High School that got up and spoke pretty eloquently about that, you know, they really needed, they had to go out and live in the real world, and they needed to, you know, it wasn't a good idea to shield them from real issues that they were going to have to face out in the real world. So, you know, looking at that, I thought on balance, it was probably a good thing. I mean, there's a lot of drugs in this culture, and the kids are going to encounter that. And I felt like this was a cautionary tale told in a way that it might catch the attention of the students.
Okay, thank you.
We have one more hand up. Go ahead, Kelly.
Hi, I apologize for that error earlier. I just wanted to say, you know, I feel like first of all, the author's note at the beginning where she says, it is hard to watch someone you love fall so deeply under the spell. And then she ends it with, think twice, then think again. So she's really giving that, you know, the readers something to think about and to realize that this is fiction, but it is related to real life events. And And like, if it would help one person recognize the signs of a friend or stop them from using, I feel like that would be worthy of keeping it in the library system.
Okay. Okay,
We have-
so,
We have
Oh,
one more
please.
hand raised again. Vicky, go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing I forgot to mention before is, to me, the fact that it is described as a monster, the monster. I mean, that is a part of conveying, the dangers and the risks of this being taken over by a monster. So I really felt that the message was cautionary and perhaps would
She said
scare students or make them think twice
Some
about
need.
drugs when they read what happened to this young woman.
So it's like kind of like historical fiction, but it's not, there's no such thing.
It looks like we have another hand raised. Kate, go ahead.
Okay, I am sorry. I am hitting the wrong buttons here. I do not mean to be clapping. I just want hand raising.
It's okay. We'll get you. I'll get you.
It's interesting, like Vicky, I use the exact same word in my commentary. I feel like this is a cautionary tale for kids about the dangers of experimentation. As adults, whether we like it or not, our teenagers, some of them get into drugs and they experiment with things that we would rather they not be experimenting with. And unfortunately and sadly, bad things can happen as a result of that. And from the reviews of this book, along with my own reading of it, I really do think that high school students would see it as oh my gosh, I don't want to go down the road of this girl. She's your average American teenager. And this happens to her. So I agree with Vicky in the cautionary tale element.
We have another hand, Ms. Sapp, if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, Jennifer, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess my question to that would be, yes, it's certainly a cautionary tale. It would be for anyone who read it. But if I'm understanding this portion of this discussion correctly, we're asking if kids who are reading this can truly grasp what they're reading and understand it. And look, maybe I grew up more sheltered than some people, certainly more sheltered than my children are now, but I could not have been able to truly grasp what was happening to her and the things that she was living through and the graphic detail that it was described in. So is it a cautionary tale? Yes. Is it something you look at and you think it's horrible? Yes. But I think the question here is, do we feel like that it's truly speaking to them and that they understand what they're reading and that they can process it? I look at that differently.
Okay, thank you.
Ted, did you want to say something? I saw your hand up, but then it went down.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I along with the prior comment, really our question here is are the students able to comprehend the material presented? We have to ask that regardless of our ability to comprehend the material. If in review, if students in grades 9 through 12 can comprehend that material and comprehend the cautionary tale thereof.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Cindy. Go ahead, Cindy.
Sure. I just wanted to say, I am the complete opposite. I feel like my kids and other students would definitely be able to comprehend this and understand it. I mean, growing up, I think I was probably one of those sheltered, but I even had a friend at my church youth group actually who was addicted to drugs, and this was in the 80s. So I mean, it's something that, is not unique to the time frame. I think it's gotten worse, but I feel like the kids are exposed to so much that they totally understand this. I mean, maybe not all students, but there are some for sure who would probably find, like you said, this a cautionary tale. It may stop them from trying drugs or being influenced by friends and peers if they totally saw what the girl goes through in this book. So I'm of the mindset that if there's students that can comprehend it and understand it, then it should be available to students in the high school library.
Okay, we have about 3 more hands up. Kelly, I think you had your hand up a couple of minutes ago. Did you have something you wanted to say?
I just kind of want to go along with the previous comment and just provide a couple more quotes that I feel like would really reach a student in the age range that we're talking about. On page 444, the author says, and she's, it's like Bree Christina talking, a big part of me wanted to confess, ask forgiveness, request help. And then she goes on later on that page to say, I knew my bad habits had escalated. And I feel like at times she was actually hoping that someone would notice. And then like on page 448, the parents are having a discussion and the mom feels like, you know, she's had this authentic discussion with her daughter when the whole time she was not telling her the truth. And the stepdad kind of knows what's going on, but can't really convince the mom. And then going on like to page 464, she makes a list of resolutions. Like she wants to change her actions. And then on page 466, other problems. So she knows she's stuck in this conundrum. And I feel like a lot of children can relate to having difficulty making the right decision, knowing what the right decision is, but not being able to do it for whatever reason, and then regretting it.
Kate, you had your hand up and it went down. Did you want to say something or did you change your mind?
No, I changed my mind. I
Okay,
would
just making
be
sure.
Echoing, yeah, I'd just be echoing what Kelly and Cindy said.
Okay. Jennifer, go ahead.
Okay, this will be my last one on this. I just, again, I don't disagree with everything that's being said about being a cautionary tale, or that children can't recognize the conundrum there and what they're dealing with, and the fact that they're being
This
told in
person's the
multiple
same.
ways, or the fact that they know what they're doing is wrong, but they don't know how to get out of it. What I'm saying though is that, do we really think that children who are not fully developed, they are not emotionally mature enough to deal with adult decisions? That's why they're children. That's why they're still in school. Do we really think that they are emotionally mature enough to understand what it's like to be addicted, to be raped, to go through all of this? Do we think that they can truly emotionally deal with that? I mean, they are kids. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying that they're not exposed to it, but do we think they can truly comprehend it?
Ms. Sepp, there are no more hands.
Okay, so I've been writing down notes frantically, so I'm gonna try to summarize what I heard. So there is a rape scene that's graphic, specifically the language is that they pulled out and were covered in blood. There's a concern in that regard on emotional maturity and student ability to comprehend that. There was some discussion that's considered the levels of comprehension, and there was a mixed response from the group. Some felt that students, there are students who could benefit from reading this and would comprehend it, and it would perceive it as a cautionary tale. It may influence them to stop and think before getting involved in drugs. There was a reference to some student speakers that came to a school board meeting, and they cautioned us not to shield them from real world issues. There's a reference to the drugs as the monster, which conveys the risk and the danger. The author starts the book with, that this is hard to watch someone go through this, and then concludes with think twice and then think again. There were quotes about the character going through a process of, kind of knowing that they needed help, knowing that their bad habits had escalated, even coming to the resolution that they needed to change, but then just struggling on how to do the right thing. And there was note that it is the character is a high school student. And then I came back to, there was pointed reference to this question is specifically about whether or not we believe that students in high school can comprehend the material as presented. So we wanted to make sure that we stayed focused on that. Okay, so at this point, we will go ahead and if everyone could answer your answer to question number 6, is the material unsuited to student needs and their ability to comprehend the material presented? Is this material unsuited? Yes or no?
Just waiting on Ted to vote. Okay, I have captured the vote. Please go ahead and click your button.
Okay, our final question, question number 7, is the material inappropriate for the grade level and age group for which the material is used? And Ms. Lawson,
Ms.
can-
Sapp, Kelly, can you clear your vote from the last vote, please? Thank you.
just a quick question for Ms. Dixon or Ms. Bukowski. This book is a high school, this was a book that was challenged from our high school libraries, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just want to make sure. And so we are answering the question, is the material inappropriate for high school level students? And so are there any comments before any comments that anyone would like to share? Okay, go ahead, Kate.
Okay, I just want to say that as a high school or a teacher of teenagers for about 20 years now, I do believe that high school students who self-select this book, because that's what we're talking about, is self-select from the library shelf, and they stick with it. I think the format of this novel, it being in verse, would deter some students, or probably many students actually, who would pick it up and be like, I'm not reading this many pages of poetry. So the kids who self-select it and then stick with it, I do feel like their reading level, that they're mature enough to learn and grow from reading this book. I wanted to put those 2 cents in.
Thank you. Any other comments?
No other hands are raised.
Um,
Go ahead, Vicki.
yeah, I didn't get to my hand, but you heard me. So, anyway, I mean, I think it's pretty well established that a lot of kids start experimenting with drugs in high school. So if we're not going to try to get to them with the cautionary tale, when are we? So I kind of looked at this as being for that high school age group. It's important. Again, it's a realistic and sobering account. It should be scary and might give them pause. I also think it might provide a basis for parents to discuss the dangers of drugs with their kids. Let's say they saw them bring the book home. So, I mean, it just seemed to me to be quite appropriate for high school age.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
No hands are raised at this time.
Okay, we'll go ahead, and if everyone can indicate your answer to the question number 7, is the material inappropriate for the grade level and age group for which the material is used?
Okay, I have recorded the vote. You may click your voting option.
Okay, this next part is this material is most suitable for, and we would have to indicate which grade level. It is currently a high school. This title is currently in the high school collection. So is there anyone who would propose that it should be for students younger than 9/12? Or can we go ahead and, I don't see any hands up, we'll mark 9/12 on this one.
There are no hands up.
Okay, so we're going to mark the materials the recommendation is that this is most suitable for 9/12. Okay, so now we're on the final recommendation as far as our committee's recommendation to the superintendent, where we have to indicate whether or not, at which level do we think this material is most suitable, and whether we believe it violates any of the marking. So we would say, gathering from the comments and everything, the material is appropriate for grades 9 and up. And then Ms. Lawson, if you can go back and review the votes as far as the recommendations. What was the vote for the material does not violate school board rule? Oh, that shouldn't be on there, sorry.
Can you tell me the question number?
Yeah. Question number 1, material is pornographic or prohibited under Florida statute. Were there any yeses to that?
Hang on.
Let's see. That was question number 4.
Number 4.
Yeah, sorry. Question number 4.
Question number 4, that vote was 7-1.
7-1. 7
With a
said
no.
no, and 1 said yes.
Correct.
Okay. So question number 5, the material depicts or describes sexual conduct defined in Florida Statute 847.001, paren 19.
We did a revote on that, I believe. And it was 6 no's and 2 yeses on that.
Okay. And then the material is not suited to student needs and their ability to comprehend the material presented.
Is that question 6?
That is question 6, yes.
It's 6 no's and 2 yeses.
And finally, the material is inappropriate for the grade level and age group for which it is used, which I'm going to put grades 9 through 12 is in my notes. And what were the votes?
7 no's and 1 yes.
Okay. So, although we did not all come to complete consensus, it does look as if the committee has a majority ruling that the book in question, the recommendation to the superintendent will be that it is appropriate for grades 9 and up, and that it does not violate any of the statutorily given reasons for removing a book from a school library. Is there any final comments from the committee members?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, so let me just give a couple of closing comments. So thank you to all of you who participated today. Please remember, I'm not sure if you knew this, but we will have a summary document that will be our recommendation to the superintendent, and we need everyone to come and sign off on that summary document. That document will be available. We need 1 week to make sure we have the document ready. So it will be available by Monday, September 25th at 40 Orange Street. And your signature is needed. We'll give a 1 week span. So we'd like everyone to stop by, sign off on the document by Friday, September 29th. And then if you could, when you come by, if you do have a book, if you could please return your book at that time. And if you could hand in any of the notes from your work in preparing for this meeting, because it is a public meeting, we are required to collect all notes that were for the purpose of the meeting. Are there any questions?
No hands are raised.
Okay, this concludes the meeting. Thank you very much.